Four more games on the NBA slate today, and we have the opportunity to see if a team can close things out today with the Denver Nuggets. That's the fourth game of tonight. We have four today. Cleveland, the Cavaliers at the Knicks, Sacramento at the Golden State Warriors. We have Boston at the Atlanta Hawks, and the Denver Nuggets at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game 4 of that one tonight, seeing if Minnesota can stay alive or if Denver will get the clean sweep. So, Erik, buddy, we will be taking a look at the NBA lines and DRF Sportsbook. We encourage anyone in Iowa to head on over to DRF Sportsbook and make a play. We'll also talk about Thrive Fantasy and some of the options you have today in playing in a Thrive Fantasy lineup. But, Erik, in revisiting what went down yesterday, some of the big thoughts first, just kind of going backwards. Dillon Brooks, huh? Dillon Brooks. Nut shot for it's just like we talk about Draymond and all of his antics.
Yeah,
it might be worth it on the court with Draymond, right? Because Draymond is so impactful that you kind of weigh, is it worth it or not? Like a guy like Dillon Brooks, like, man, you're bad offensively yesterday. You're not really locking down on defense. And then you go out there and you do something stupid and you just like a nut tap like that. I mean, I don't know if he should have gotten thrown out or not or whatever, but just not a smart basketball play.
Not at all. Not at all. Pretty stupid that he did that. And you know, it is what it is. But there's no real veteran leadership on that team right there. So I mean, that really doesn't really surprise you with what's going on in Memphis.
Right. That's the key. We talked how they were a team that might have been ripe for a veteran to get traded there, right? Someone with a little bit of leadership, someone who's been there, who's done that. We have one series in the books, 76ers with a 4-0 sweep yesterday, even without Embiid. And what was really important for the Sixers, Erik, is that they're able to get, that series out of the way. And Atlanta steals a game from Boston. So we know that Boston-Atlanta series that we're going to see today, that one's going to go at least 2 more games. So that is a good thing for the 76ers with the banged-up Embiid. They're going to get like at least a week off.
Yeah, they'll get some time up the heel. But I'll be honest, doesn't really matter with them. I don't know if you saw the video that was circling around, but just the constant flopping by Embiid was kind of hilarious. Like anytime he got touched, he's just
down. Well, here's my counter to that, right? If we have every team completely healthy, I agree. I wouldn't bet Philadelphia to win in a series or in a one-game situation. But what makes it nice now, let's say today, Jason Tatum twists his ankle a little bit, right? Because now Boston has to keep playing. That's the one thing that's nice about getting the job done when you can. Right? Not playing with your food in these series, because we've seen all these guys getting hurt. If Boston and Atlanta have to play 2 more games and all of a sudden Marcus Smart's still a little injured, Robert Williams takes another bad step, then they go in a week later and they're not as healthy. That's all my point is that it's nice to get the job done early, because you never know what could happen when you have to go out there on the court, right? We've seen all of these stars get hurt. So I completely agree with your analysis in that. If Boston's healthy, if Philly's healthy, I don't like Philly there. But damn, Boston still has at least 2, maybe even 3 more games in this series, right?
Yeah, the series could go on for a little bit. It was an very interesting game on when they played Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see which Celtics team and which Hawks team show up moving forward.
I gotta say, man, I'm not a Clippers fan. I feel bad for them right now. I really do. Because they are playing like the group of players on the Clippers, besides, without Kawhi and Paul George, if that group of players was the role players for any other team, they would be awesome.
Oh yeah,
if they were playing that hard right now, right? As hard as you're getting from Russ and from Powell and Mann and Zubats and all of them, they're not as good as Durant and Booker and Chris Paul, but they are giving maximum effort. And even as someone who's not a Clipper fan, I truly feel bad because you can see late in the games, they just don't have enough.
Yeah, they just don't, how can I say this? I was going to try to think of some cool word to say, but they just don't have enough.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of comical how all Brooks and Monty Williams do is bitch about foul calls, but the last 2 games they have over 70 attempts from the free throw line.
I don't like Booker. I don't like CP3 that much. I don't like Monty Williams that much either. And while they've continued to win, man, if they're favored over Denver in the next series, I am all over Denver.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
Like, I just think this team is so overhyped, overvalued. Even in watching them, like, they're having a tough time with this Clippers team without Paul George, without Kawhi. Just like think about that. Paul George and Kawhi could both guard Booker and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Like, they would help you in every way you need. And you don't have them there. And Phoenix is still struggling to get through them. And it's the reason what we've talked about for a while, Eric. They don't have a whole hell of a lot of depth. And
they have no depth, and you're rolling out, like we're talking about how the Clippers don't have anyone. You're rolling out Durant and Booker over 40 minutes against the JV Clippers team. Yep. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I mean, they just don't have it. I think they're going to lose next round to the Nuggets.
Woj just tweeted that Brooks won't be suspended for the next game for Memphis. So
I mean, that would have been awful if Brooks was suspended. It still blows my mind how there was nothing done to Embiid for that blatant kick in the nuts.
For the kick.
So poor on the NBA minute fronts.
So let's see any other comments to get through. Spot of spots to made. Memphis last night. Yeah, it felt that way. And it's funny. I don't think the game was ever closer than 9 really late in the game when Ja started going crazy. Like, it wasn't even like it was close, but there was this anxious feeling because the Lakers are up by 30 early in the game. Yeah. And so you feel like the other team is coming back, but it was never closer than 9. No. It was never even really close, but
I mean, they kind of took the foot off the gas too.
So. Yeah. It's hard. What we see, most teams can't just flip a switch, Eric.
Yeah.
Only a few teams can really do that. And it's dangerous when you do, because you take your level of that level of effort that the Lakers had to start the game last night was fantastic. As a fan, that's exactly what I wanted, what I hoped for in a home game like that. You just punch them right in the mouth. What I kind of like to see is that, if we're looking at the shot quality for Ja, how many times is Ja going to make 4 threes in a game like that, or go 4 out of 6, right? So at late in the game when he kept making shots, I was like, keep making them. Yeah. Make them now, because then next game when he needs one of those, I don't want those games. I hope it was sort of a meaningless 45 for Ja, Bobby says Memphis game 4. It feels like it's kind of been that back and forth series. I can't really get a feel for what to do in game 4 necessarily, the approach. I could honestly see either way. Ja seems healthy, but again, are you going to get that same Ja game again? Are you going to get another game where he scores 45, or are they going to do something different and really try to take Ja out of the game early and make Jaren Jackson, make Tillman, make Brain, the other guys beat him, which they have done. Bobby,
it's going to be interesting to see what little adjustments Jenkins has in store. I was expecting a little more from Vanderbilt. What he played 20 minutes, really didn't put any.
Yeah, I think when he got, did he get in the foul? Was it foul trouble? Was that what it was with him? I think he got at one point. Yeah, he had 5 fouls. So yeah. I think that's what it was, because when he does a good job on Ja with the bigger body and really taking it serious to that be his mission for all game, not even caring about getting 1 bucket, right? For him, it's just slow down Ja, and picked up a foul or 2, and that probably limited an extra 6 or 7 minutes. I also think with a guy like him, Eric, I think there's you don't want Vanderbilt playing 30 minutes or more because of how hard he plays a lot of the time, because you'd rather have him out there for 30 minutes diving for every ball, but not tired. Once he gets past a certain point, then he can't really do that nonstop action, let's talk about your Bucks. I mean, yesterday felt like a game where they wanted to take one more swing before bringing Giannis back in. Are you worried at all yet?
I am worried because I just kind of feel they're playing around this series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not kind of
taking it seriously.
Taking care of business. Defense has been awful. The ball really isn't moving that much, and they just don't look that crisp. And he have been shooting lights out. He have been playing great. They've been shooting the ball pretty well. I am a little bit worried right now. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, maybe it's just because I've been down this road with them before, where we've kind of seen a little bit of the underachieving and everything. But we'll see what happens. I mean,
because do I think with Giannis, you guys are a much better team? Absolutely. But what gets scary as the series shrinks and the sample sizes shrink, like you get down to the point where, well, anything can happen in one game.
Yeah.
Right. So now all of a sudden, if you have one game where Miami just shoots lights out again, like then now you know what I mean? You feel anxious because the bigger sample size, I'd always pick Milwaukee with a healthy team with all their players. But just like in the NCAA tournament, right? Like now we're getting down to.
I mean, we saw it last night. Like Duncan Robinson isn't going to go 3 for 4 from 3 again, getting off shots.
No.
They just played a bad second half too, like a bad second quarter. They were up big and then they went on a run, and I don't know. It was just one kind of a little bit of a fluky game. They missed some open looks. Yeah, I think Giannis is going to play. They just got to be careful because anything is possible with Jimmy on the court.
Yeah,
I hate to see Oladipo go down. I haven't.
Man, that was sad.
Twitter to kind of see what's going on with him. That's another blow to the
depth.
To the Heat. Regardless, I think the bigger thing we need to start maybe even talking about is kind of looking at Knicks futures that come out of the East right now, or Cavs, one of those two, whoever you think is going to win that series. Just because, I mean, if Giannis goes down and the Heat go through and the Heat are rolling out a lineup with Kevin Love, no Oladipo, Duncan Robinson is forced to play, that's going to create some matchup issues that I don't think they're going to have enough to combat.
So let's talk about today's games, Erik, and we will talk about the Knicks and the Cavs. You like the Knicks today, game 4. So huge game for the Knicks because they were able to split on the road. And I'm not going to play the Cavs today, but my play in this game is going to be, I was trying to think, should I attack Garland because he had a bad game last game and not really sure if he was like health-wise 100%. Mitchell didn't really have a great game. Mobley didn't really have a great game. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to attack the team total for the Cavs, Erik. I'm going to hope that as a team, they can just score a little bit more today. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I feel pretty confident that they'll be better than the 79-point performance that they put out the other day when they just packed it in late. Sometimes that first playoff game at MSG can be a little bit startling, right? Because for all of us growing up, that's the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, right? We've all watched Michael Jordan play there millions of times and those Sunday NBA matinees. I think sometimes when you go in there for like your first playoff game, it probably be a kind of a big moment, right? Maybe the moment's a little bit bigger than you're ready for. I expect the Cavs to play more comfortable today. The issue is I don't know if that means it's good enough to win. I don't. I don't know if this is a great matchup for them. And for the same reasons that we're talking about Phoenix moving forward, the Knicks are just deeper than this Cavs team.
Yeah.
They're just deeper.
I mean, you and I have done a ton of basketball shows, and the one thing I always preach is rebounding. Everyone is talking about Mobley and Jared Allen, but when you look at the numbers, Knicks for the series, they're +9 offense, not +9 rebounding in general, +6 in the offensive rebounding category, and they're a +10 for the series in second chance points. So even in a game, and like they haven't really shot that well in the series, they're getting second chance points. They're controlling the offensive glass. So it's able to combat some of the shooting woes that they've had this series. They're just dominating. And when you have someone like a coach Bickerstaff, who for whatever reason is not having a Okoro on the court and he's adamant, I'm going to play Levert, who can't rebound, who's a bad defender. I'm going to play old man Danny Green, who's a bad defender, can't rebound. And I'm going to play Usman, who's a bad defender, can't rebound. That's not helping the situation. Now, I know the Cavs missed some open looks, but it's not like Julius Randle played well either. Shot quality has him due for some positive shot regression. And I just trust Tibbs a lot more. I think Tibbs is just a way better coach than Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff, after one game, is messing around with the rotation.
Today's the day, right? Because we've seen this has been a sort of like, for the most part, kind of picture perfect series in that one team comes out, punches, and then in game 2, the Cavs adjusted, right? They took the ball out of they put the ball in Garland's hand a little bit more. They were smarter. They made an adjustment.
He's a better distributor. Mitchell kind of just puts his head down and go. And we saw it in the game. He was arguing with people on the sideline, and the rumor is he said something like, "This is why I wanted to get out of Utah." Like, so I mean, there could be some issues going on with the Cavs. Their spacing isn't the best when they play Allen and Mobley. Is that going to lead to more staggered minutes? I don't think so. I don't think Bickerstaff is going to bench one of those guys. I think Okoro needs to be back on the starting lineup. There's some stuff he can do. I just don't think he's going to do it.
He has to, and he has to today. Yeah. Like, today's the day, and that's why Erik's playing the Knicks. Today's the day for him. If he does make those adjustments and they come back 2-2, then it's sort of ball back to Thibodeau now, right? Yeah. Now, how are you going to adjust to what they've done? Today's a really big day for them. It is, because for the Cavs, you cannot go down 3-1.
And just the rebounding issue. I mean, like, the fact that the Knicks are able to out-rebound them when they have Mobley and Allen on the court 35-plus minutes a game is just mind-boggling to me.
I think it's some of the personnel. When you just honestly think about Allen and Mobley are a little bit bigger, but I mean, if I was going to go to, like, if I'm walking down a dark alley and I need a couple guys there with me, I'm taking Julius Randle and Josh Hart over, you know what I mean? Like, those guys are tough. Like, they're not, I don't want to act like Mobley is soft or that Allen is soft, but Julius and Josh Hart are some dudes. Like, they're going to go and rebound in traffic in there. They're not afraid of getting popped in the face. They're going to stick their hand, their head, throw everything in there to try to get a board. So I agree with you. I think just sort of personnel-wise, the Knicks are just a little more tougher, and they're coached a little bit harder right now. They're just a little bit more of a badass team. The Cavs can come right back today, tie this series up, and feel very good about the series. Really intriguing game. Erik's on the Knicks. I'm on the team total for the Cavs. I mean, they shot 38% from the field. Some of that is the Knicks defense. I'll absolutely agree. But they were only 21% from 3. They were 7 of 33 from 3. During the regular season, they shot 34% from 3. Garland and Mitchell combined were 3 of 15. That number is going to be a little bit better. So I'm playing the Cavs on their team total today. Erik, anything else you want to mention about game 1?
The thing I'm trying to talk myself into is the over, just because, I mean, these teams are due for some positive shot regression. Cavs have been missing a lot of open looks, like you said. It's kind of tinkered down to 203 right now. If this gets down to 202 before tip, which is in 30 minutes or so, give or take, I'll definitely look to get on the over. But right now at this number of 203.5, I'm going to pass.
Game 1 on the 4-game slate today. We move to the second game. Sacramento, Golden State. Warriors are 7.5-point favorite in this game. That's just way too high. Sacramento, a 7.5-point underdog. They're a plus 250, a money line underdog. And Erik, my friend, that's who you like today. You like these Sacramento Kings.
I like the Sacramento Kings a lot. I played them plus the 7.5. And on the money line, as crazy as it sounds, I think that at this stage of his career, the Warriors are better offensively with no Draymond Green on the court. He's just a liability. He can't shoot. He's not as explosive as he was getting to the rim with a dribble drive. And they're not going to be able, what they really did effectively is they had Looney out there with 4 shooters and they're running this high pick and roll with Steph. Now, if you have Draymond out there with Looney, you can just sag off Draymond, force him to make a couple jump shots. So I think it's going to hurt the offensive flow. I think Mike Brown's going to totally have a counter for that high pick and roll that I just mentioned that the Warriors were doing that was dragging Sabonis away from the rim. Even though they're up 2-1, when you just kind of look at Herter, hasn't shot that well. Keegan Murray.
Their whole team hasn't shot well.
Yeah, their whole team has really not been that great besides Fox in that first game. And then you rewatch the last game, Herter, Monk, Murray, Mitchell, all those guys just had so many open looks from 3 and they just weren't falling. I think it was the game 3 jitters. And then you just kind of look like you're watching that game and it's like they're up by 12, the Warriors. And it wasn't really like it was a comfortable 12. You kind of felt like the Kings were going to make a little bit of a run. They're due for some positive shot regression. I don't know. Like, I think this is prime for the picking for them to go in there, pull off the upset. And it's just a good matchup for them. And besides Steph and Wiggins, no one's been that good. Clay, looked good, but last game he really wasn't that Klay Thompson-esque game. So you know what? I'm gonna take the Kings here plus the 7.5, and I'm gonna do a little
Bobby Thomas. I know why we get along so well, Bobby Thomas. We are on the Draymond overs today. Win or lose? Because I agree with you. If I were playing this game on the game one way or the other, I would absolutely be playing the Kings. That number is too big. I think it should probably be closer to like 5.5 or so if you're just playing the game straight up. But Draymond is going to be so jacked up for this game at the start for a home game after getting thrown out last time. The two plays that I have don't have anything to do with win or lose. I think he'll get over the 8.5 points. And I think he'll get over the 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. Because Draymond can have a 9 rebounds, 10 assists game and only need to get you 3 buckets. Like that's what's nice about that number right there. I actually agree with you, Erik. And it's funny because we saw this last year in the playoffs. Remember, the deeper they went, Draymond was almost unplayable in against the Celtics in some spots because they would just drop off of him. When you play other teams that are so deep and that are really, really strong offensively, like they've been a little bit lucky that Herter and Murray and all of those guys haven't been spot on, because if they were, it would force Draymond to have to score a little bit more, right? It would put a little bit more pressure on him. He's kind of been lucky that those guys haven't been hitting their shots because now he's gotten a little bit more leeway where he can just run around out there and play defense. It's not always going to be that way. I think he's going to come out excited, though, today. I think we're getting a big Draymond numbers game. I don't know if that necessarily means that the Warriors are going to win this game, though, because I'd lean with you, Erik, if I had on these Kings. And just thinking about the matchups and watching the Lakers Memphis yesterday, because I am in no way, shape, or form saying that series is over. But whoever comes out of the Lakers or Memphis, they are so different than what these two teams are and what they're dealing with right now. For an entire series, Sacramento and Golden State are going to have faced a team that doesn't really get into the paint at all.
Yeah.
That has no real big paint presence. And then whomever they play, whether it be the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron and Reeves and Schroeder and all these guys driving right at you, or Ja and Jaren Jackson and Memphis, going right at you. It'll be a really interesting, different series for whoever comes out of this one. And Erik, man, this is just a massive game when you think about the series. 3-1 for Sacramento going home, 2-2 for a young team like this. They're going to start to feel a little anxious.
This is a big swing game, an absolute huge swing game. It's good, like you said, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the game. How do the Kings come out?
Look at this, Erik. Look at the respect for the Warriors right now. They're 4-1 in a series where they're down right now 2 games to 1.
That probably also has a little bit to do with handle too, though. You know what I mean? They're trying to limit their exposure and everything. So, I mean, I'm sure there's people just piling in money with the Warriors.
Bobby Thomas, I hate the Lakers. Thanks so much for checking in with us. Erik, well, let's move to our next game on the day. We're going to go to Boston and Atlanta. Boston is a 6-point favorite here on the road, over under 232. And get a big game for Boston. I think all of us just assume Boston's going to win this series, and we've all penciled them in. And if you are Boston, you probably want to try to get this series done as quick as possible with Philly waiting. And, Embiid is a little bit banged up. Can Atlanta steal another game at home today? What do you think about this one, Erik?
Interesting game. I mean, Celtics shot lights out. Hawks made a run because of Capella. The prop I really was looking at was Jaylen Brown. He played awful, was in foul trouble, but his point total is at 25.5. His over-under for threes is at 2.5. I mean, I wanted to play those, but they were just a little bit too high for me to get invested in them. I'm going to go back to the well one more time. I'm just going to take the Capella under the 20.5 points and rebounds. Obviously he's due for some shooting regression. He came out, he had 8 quick points to start. He went over this by half on a BS tip, which they didn't give the rebound to Mobley for, but they gave it to Capella. Obviously, I don't know why Schneider insists on having him and John Collins on the floor at the same time. There is at least 3 defensive rotations. He's just slow rotating when they draw him out for the middle. I have no idea why he's just so adamant that I need to have Clint Capella out there. This is the first game he was a plus 4 for the game, but that's because he would play with Bogey some minutes. They were in that position to win the game. Bogey, I maybe look at the Trae Young unders. He's probably due for a little bit of shooting regression as well. But my only play is Capella under the 20.5 points and rebounds.
I've got one for you that you're going to like, Erik. Your guy, Bay. Bay had a much better game at home. And we've talked about this with the role players, right? The role players like Sadiq Bey, they're so much better at home than on the road. In his last game, he played 27 minutes. He was 5 of 7 from the field. He was 3 of 3 from 3. The key is he also had 8 rebounds. Like just being out on the court a lot. And like you're saying, if we get a little bit less Capella, that means it's going to be more Bey, more Okonwu, more Collins, some of the guys that are not as big as Capella, but you need a little bit more length from like the wings and a guy like Okonwu, who's like your smaller big, but you're more versatile big. So Bey shot really well from 3 since coming over. He's not always been as consistent, which is something I'm sure you know about him, right? Like he's not always locking down defensively. Like
in Detroit, he thought he should have been the man, and it led him to kind of getting away what his bread and butter was of spotting up and then catch and shoot or catch and drive. He tried
3-and-D. He's like a really good 3-and-D guy, right?
He thought he was a little bit more, and there was a little bit of a locker room issue going on with him. So that's why, unfortunately, they had to move him. But I liked him overall. But with what the Pistons have building, I get why they moved him. He should get some open looks from 3. Young and Murray were doing a great job of distributing the ball at the pick and roll.
So Bey over the 14.5 points and rebounds for me as we get ready to move into our final game. I like the Murray points, rebounds, assists, 32.5, really missed the price. And it's gone over this every game this series. Yeah, I played under in his last game because he had gone over. This would absolutely be a bounce back game for him. And it's not like he went under because he was bad last time. The ball was just sort of moving around a little bit more. It wasn't a Murray game. He looks healthy, and just that's what makes this Nuggets team scary this year, Erik, compared to like last year we were watching poor Jokic with no Murray, with no Porter, and the guy had to do everything himself. He was just worn down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to our final game. Nuggets, T-Wolves. You feel like they just close it out and get the job done today?
Look, I've said it before. I said it yesterday. Teams that are up 3-0 that are favorites in game 4 now are 68% against the spread. We saw it. Nets started out good. 76ers came back, covered the number. I think this Timberwolves team is going to be 1-2-3 Cancun. I think,
What?
like I really don't. I think that last game they had every chance to get over the hurdle, but for whatever chance, they just could not get over the hurdle. You look at Gobert. I mean, he's been getting in foul trouble. He hasn't getting in many rebounds. The Wolves, their two struggles this year have been defending the point guard and defending the small forward. Murray and Porter have been great this series. Towns, he has no leadership. It's not like Towns is going to rally the troops and say, this is what we need to do. You're missing your best defender in, oh my God, the guy that punched the wall, whose name I'm facing. McDaniels. I think Conley wants to get out of there. He wasn't really that thrilled to get traded to Minnesota and be back with Gobert. Gobert's got a foot out the door. You look at Joker. Joker has yet to play a good game in the series. He's only averaging 20 points, and they're up 3-0, and Edwards isn't 100%. I just don't understand how this young, immature Minnesota team is going to rally it up and put one last fight in. I think they're ready to pack, and then Minnesota's due for another quick little mini rebuild.
Yeah, the only play that I have is Edwards. Because in watching him his last game, I felt like he's now a little bit healthier than he was, and I think he's the type of guy. I like Edwards a lot. I think he's a guy. I don't know if he can be your number one, but I'm very confident he can at least be your second best player and maybe like your number one with someone else. I think he really is a gamer who can go and make big plays late. I just don't trust his team. I don't like the fit with this team. They're going to have to do something because, Eric, they may not be able to trade Gobert, right? Like, his trade value might not be fantastic right now based on and what you spent for him. They may have to trade Towns and probably have to build around Gobert and Edwards for a little bit for like another year or so.
Yeah. Towns to the Nets, maybe, because the Nets want to get that start. I'm just not a firm believer in Towns. It was a god awful trade for Rudy Gobert. So
I know it was terrible. I don't know. I'd heard, I don't know what it was. Who said it? Is there a way to get Towns to the Warriors if Draymond leaves? That would sort of be weird. And do you imagine Towns with the Splash Brothers, all of those guys out there just shooting threes like nuts? But defensively, they would be lacking quite a bit, right? But you still would have it would be weird because it would kind of be like it would be a weird version of what Minnesota does because you'd have Looney. Looney could play down low still. And then you'd have Towns out there with Clay and Steph. That would be weird. That would just be a weird thing to see. But I would not want to go through a whole nother year with Edwards, Towns, and Gobert. It just doesn't seem like it fits with those guys.
It doesn't fit at all. And, it was a swing and a miss, and you got to do it again. I'm hearing Gobert to Dallas. That's the one thing that I keep on hearing, Gobert to Dallas.
I made a mistake with this earlier too. Don't mean to interrupt you, Eric, but he was talking about DeJounte Murray, not Jamal Murray. So we were going in between the Celtics Hawks game and then the Nuggets game. So I was on the wrong Murray, but said DeJounte, 32.5 points, rebounds, assists, gone over every game this series. Yeah, but what's nice and not just kind of going backwards a little bit so we can answer this question, Eric. I feel more confident about DeJounte getting his than Trey, right? Even with like tougher defense, DeJounte's bigger. He can still get his shot off a little bit more. Trey played great last game, but I'm still a little bit worried about him consistently being able to get his, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just locked that one in myself. I was just quickly looking at the numbers and
nice.
Side, like, he rebounds, he distributes. He's been running a lot more point with Young off the court, and he's always going to get his. As long as he's scoring above 20 points with the other stuff he's able to do, this is a play for me. Gone over it comfortably. I mean, if you're just looking at it, game one, what is that? Almost 40. Game two, almost 40. 36 last game. So, I mean, he's gone over this pretty much every game. I like this bet a lot.
Erik, anything else you want to mention? Let's get to a couple of these. Let's get to a couple of these posts and comments from the folks out there. We have the contenders win this year's EuroLeague championship, Real Madrid, Olympiacos. Real Madrid is in good form. Oh, okay, good little tidbit. Anyone out there who's a football fan wants to get another little play in, keep an eye on Real Madrid in good form this year. Dan, my man, how we doing? Boys trip to Michigan Breweries, 5/26, fly to Chicago. Okay, we got about a month to get to the Windy City. Dan, I will tell you, yesterday, man, was one of the worst beats I've had in a long, like disgustingly bad. I missed the front end of the late pick 5 at Santa Anita by about a nostril. It paid $6,000. Mine was going to pay more. I gave out like all the horses. I gave out the horse that paid $50 to win. And I was dealing with some stuff with my son, so I didn't even see it happen like live. I had to go back after, and so I couldn't even play a pick 4 or make some other money off of it. If I would have hit that thing yesterday, I would have bought that ticket right now, Dan, and I would be on my way over there. So if we can get something next week or maybe Derby week, then I'd love to jump out there and join you, Dan K. Appreciate you chiming in, Erik. Let's make the shift on over to Thrive Fantasy. So talk to us about Thrive Fantasy, man. I'm getting a lot more comfortable, a lot more familiar with this website. You and I are starting to get into the prop parlays, which are a lot of fun because they pay you better than a normal parlay would, especially a prop parlay, because most props are like -115, -120. When you play props, they're priced even higher than just playing like the side of a game.
Yeah. And the thing that I like is you get the 3-2. You get the 3-2, which is a phenomenal price than the normal parlay piece. I'm just going to go back to the well. People call me a homer, call me whatever.
You keep doing it. Why? If the numbers don't adjust, you got to keep doing it, right?
You know, give me Capella, the under the 20.5. I really like that one. I was actually going to team this one with the DeJounte Murray. That was going to be in my Thrive, but rightfully so, Thrive's preventing their liability. You can't really have two
same teams.
Same team.
Won't.
So I'm gonna go to Joker. I mean, I was looking at Porter. Porter's been rebounding the ball pretty well, so I didn't go to him. I'm gonna go to Joker under the 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I just think this is too much. I think this is a blowout game. I don't think he plays that many points. I'm going to parlay those two together for a nice 3.2 to 1 payout.
And remember, you can play in the contest, which is just $20 to enter, $2,000 in prizes. You have to pick 10 out of the 20 props that they've given you here to make your lineup. And the first place winner gets $400. They play out to the top 25. So you can play in these specific contests, whether they're basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, League of Legends, esports, or the prop lobby like Erik just mentioned. And you can make wagers connecting just 2, 3, 4, 5 props. Look at the payouts here. 2 to 1, 2 correct gets you 3.2 times your entry. So you're getting better value with these prop parlays than you would in other places. I already locked one in myself. I've got one upcoming. I've got Draymond Green, 14.5 rebounds and assists. I've got Anthony Edwards, 38.5 points, rebounds, assists. I've got Sadiq Bey, 14.5 points, rebounds. For my $20, Erik, this could get me back 104. My little 3-pop parlay. I like that.
Love it. I love it.
GINO. Make sure to use that promo code when you head to Thrive Fantasy and deposit. And Erik and I are going to start to do some little videos here and there throughout the next couple of weeks. We'll post little tidbits, as building our lineup, and we'll even dive more into props and how we can make some money on Thrive Fantasy. Erik, buddy, anything else you want to mention on this Sunday before we get out of here?
Question is there a carryover in Keelan today?
Let's see, 135,000 in the pick 6 for a carryover. The big carryover was a couple days ago. I believe. So it's not like as massive as it was. 135 in the pick six. There's a super high 5 carryover. So that's not a bad number in the pick six. Keeneland races one more week. Their closing day will be on Friday. So Friday will be like their mandatory payout day because Saturday opens at Churchill. So yeah, if you want to throw a few bucks in on your what's nice about the pick six at Keeneland, it's only a $1 wager too. Some of them are $2 based. Sometimes they're 20 cents or 50 cents. Keeneland is a $1 based wager with that pick six there today. So let's make. Go ahead.
Do you cover any of those races? Any of your platforms?
You know what? Today I didn't look at any Sunday races for Keeneland today. I have a little Santa Anita stuff, but I might dive in right now because the pick six is a little bit later. As I mentioned, I was a little salty last night. Last night was one of those salty nights. I did smart. And one thing that I've done the last couple of years as a gambler, on my bad days, I don't ever make them like bad tilt days. You know, like, and that's something that people do when you're younger. You have a bad day. You want to try to catch up. You want to try to go back. You want to get that feeling of winning. I never do that. I'll only bet on the things that I've looked, that I've handicapped, that I've researched. But what sucks about that is that now I got a bad taste in my mouth probably till Friday. You know, the next time I bet, or Wednesday when I bet on the races again. So yeah, I hope all my basketball games go well today. And at the least the Lakers won. So I had a little bit better feeling in the pit of my stomach. But when it comes down to 6 to 10 grand or your team winning, I'll take the money. I'll take the money anytime for sure. Erik, man, it's been a blast. We already got a couple weeks of these in the book so far. So thanks so much to everyone for hanging out with us. Thanks for coming and being part of the show. Dan K, Let's Make Some Money. Bobby Thomas, all of you. You are our co-hosts. You are a big part of this show. You make this show so much more fun when we have your questions and your comments to bounce off of. So thanks for hanging out with us again today. We'll be back tomorrow, Monday, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll get you all set up for the Monday night games. Good luck, my friend, with all your plays today. Talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging out on Fast Break Bets.